Siyabonga. For us, it's not just about celebrating the house. It's about celebrating an epoch, which we think is important to do it from the Kingdom of Swaziland. The dates, the year, the house, the city, Manzini, are all part of a big tapestry that explains the history. So what I'm going to do is to provide the context for the race, not the details, so that you can understand how important it is. When you hear people talking of the comrades, it has its own context. And I think the Magogo race has a very, very important context for the continent. First of all, it is important to recall that we're celebrating June 16, 50 years of June 16 this year as number 43. And a lot of people have been asking why June 16? Why is it important for number 43? We have started defining June 16 and number 43 as Siamese twins. Children that come out of the same mother or out of the same source, which was Bantu education. When our parents decided to leave South Africa to come and stay in Swaziland is because they made a determination that they could not allow their children to be exposed to that kind of education, simply because they understood how difficult it is or how difficult it was to run a household without an education. Our father only had standard 2, and our mother only did grade 2. And running a life under those circumstances was very, very difficult for them. And they made the decision to migrate to Swaziland. This was 1965. 11 years later, we were faced with the Soweto uprising, June 16, 1976. And every child that left South Africa after that uprising was given the same message. Mntwanam, hamba uye Eswatini. Ufune bakwa Masilela. They will know what to do. We had no clue that that was going to be the case. But why it happened is because our father was a very popular bricklayer or builder in Soweto. So the majority of the houses that you see in Soweto today were built by him. And when he made the decision to migrate to Swaziland, in the mind of the average Sowetan, Masilela is a politician, he is ANC, he's coming to set up shop for the ANC in Swaziland. Mind you, this happened around the time of the Rivonia trial, when Nelson Mandela and the lot ended up in Robben Island. So at the backs of their minds, they were correct to connect those dots, but in practice, those dots never connected. So when these children or students arrived at number 43 with the same message, we're baffled. We had to work back to work out why the messaging is the same. But that as it may, our mother made a conscious decision as a parent and said, Abantu abami lapha. I can't throw them back into the streets. They came all the way from Soweto to this house. I will keep them. And that meant at any point in time in that period, you could find 40 or 50 people staying at number 43, waiting to be picked up either by the ANC or the PAC, who were operating from the kingdom. So to us, the celebration of June 16 is instrumental. It's very important. And we think it is important for Swaziland as well, or Eswatini today, because had Swaziland not been present at the time, the liberation process in South Africa would have been very different to what we have seen. So help us celebrate June 16, which is extremely important for South Africa and the continent. And as a country, you were is essential in making sure that we get the freedom that we deserved. But not only that, Manzini was the crossroads for the struggle. This is where all activities happened. All the other towns in Swaziland were peripheral to what was happening in Manzini. So you will see the race map is deliberate the way it's designed. It's designed to encircle Manzini. And this is to remind us and to inform those who come after us how important a hub was, so Manzini was, in the liberation of South Africa. Without Manzini, we don't think that the process would have been the same. So it is extremely important that Manzini is recognized and celebrated for having been instrumental in delivering South Africa, the liberation, the freedom in South Africa. But more importantly, somewhere along the line of recognizing this history, the city of Manzini decided to sacrifice their name for the race. You will see that the race logo has Manzini at the bottom. And this is the appreciation of the leadership of the Manzini City Council, how important the race is for the city, how important the race is for the country. And they then sacrifice their name. And the name is very important. A lot of people may not fully appreciate what a name actually means. It's your integrity, it's your identity. And for a lot of people, money is not important. Wealth is not important. Their name is much more important than anything else. And if somebody is willing to sacrifice their name for you, you should understand how seriously they take you. And your appreciation should be higher than the mountains of any part of the world. So we would like to celebrate Manzini. We would like to celebrate Manzini, Deputy Mayor. It's a very important part of the story. Singabashayela tandla. And to the runners, we see it as a sacrifice. It may not be the ultimate sacrifice as it is with Comrades Marathon, but we think it's a very significant sacrifice that cannot be ignored. Because every time you put one foot forward, you're actually increasing the height at which we hoist the flag of Swaziland, the height at which we hoist the flag of Manzini. And that for me is extremely important. And we think that you're contributing to the sacrifice that not only Manzini has taken, not only Swaziland has taken, but the students of June 16, 1976 have taken. When they laid their lives for the liberation of South Africa, they said, we're passing on the baton to those who come after us. And the runners, for me, are the people who are actually taking over the baton from the students of June 16, 1976. And that's how instrumental you are in trying to preserve this history and being part of this big tapestry that we are trying to preserve going forward. And as a Masilela family, we would like to thank everybody who's part of this occasion, which has actually led to a change in the date from having the race being in June to having the date being in August of every year. And this was discussed with Golden Foot, and they understood, and it made sense for them as well. Why it made sense for Golden Foot and the runners is because we needed to accommodate the long distance runners who do comrades, and they can be able to come and join us. And I remember last year we celebrated a number of the runners for their achievements at the comrades. And we hope that we'll be able to continue doing that going forward into the future. But more importantly and selfishly as a family, we would like to use the race to celebrate our father. You'll recall that from the day we started this initiative, way back in 2007, the person that has been made prominent is our mother, Magogo. But we all know that Magogo didn't do it on her own. She was given the liberty by our father to continue doing the things that an average man would not allow in his house. But he allowed for it to happen, whether he was there or he wasn't there. So it was important for us to pick August as that month to match the race. And why August? It's August because that is the day, that is the month where our father was born. He was born in August 5, 1925. And we are very glad that the runners have also agreed and accepted to celebrate the birthday with us. So every year, Turkey allowing, will have that big cake that everybody will cut and celebrate on. And to us, we find that as a very significant part of the celebration. And those who do not know, the celebration happens at a very important and historical location. I don't know, Mayor, Deputy Mayor, whether you've been told about the origin of the Penray Park. No. So they are not doing their work. It should be part of the orientation. So when Sidney Williams was going to receive relatives from the UK way back in 1965, he decided he wants to do something significant, something that's going to be remembered long after they are gone. And he decided to bequeath a park to the people of Manzini. And he called it the Penray Park, after one of his relatives. There's still a stone there. At least I know that stone is still there. It hasn't moved, right? It tells you the history of that park. And what he did, he then came to our father and asked him to build the park for him. So the park as it stands today doesn't represent the Penray Park as we grew up knowing it, was built under his hands. And in those days, it had fountains from the top to the bottom. It was actually telling a story through a forest. So the water ran from the top all the way. There'll be a fountain here, a fountain there, a dam, a small pond here, a small pond there. And right at the end, at the bottom of the park, was the biggest pond that congregated all the waters in Manzini. And that is the story. And I think it's very important that we go back in history and rebuild Penray Park and try and represent it in the way in which it was originated. And I'm sure that a lot of people will appreciate it, and it will bring tourism into the city. So that is the context that brings us together under the flag of Golden Foot, to continue writing this history, to continue celebrating it, and to ensure that people who come behind us understand where we come from. And the unfortunate thing is, a lot of people, when they make history, they don't realize it until they are long dead. And the people in this room are actually helping to rewrite this history. Siyabonga.
Hi. Yes, ngibani lona ophamisa sandla sikubona. Okay. Put up the question.
Given the Masilela's family's significant role in the liberation movement, perhaps what could be your take on that, what's happening, especially with this year's race and what you're trying to celebrate as well?
I've had to answer this question at least 4 times now in media conferences. So I'm going to try and change my answer because I'm in Swaziland. And say, where we are is unfortunate. We shouldn't be where we are. We have a history of South Africans going to many and varying different parts of the world as part of the liberation process. And they did it prior to that, and they continue to do it today. And it's also clear that migration is not a new thing in South Africa. Migration is an old age characteristics of societies. And this is why we have what we call nomads, people who have got no country or sense of abode. They're always moving. However, here is the distinction between what I've just said and what is happening today. The distinction is we are quickly forgetting that in migration, there's always a legitimacy of migration. So people have to move and be recorded as they move from one part of the world to the next, which means the question should not be about people moving. The question should be about, are they moving legally or not? And for me, that bottom line has been quickly forgotten. And why it's been quickly forgotten is because as South Africa, we've allowed other people to write the narrative for us. We should have, as a government, determined what the narrative is and continue to communicate it to the world. It's as if we do not exist. The voice that is now being listened to is the voice of the people who are not supposed to be providing the narrative, whoever they are. And unfortunately, they cover quite a wide range of people that are already commenting. The people who are affected on the ground, all the way to the United Nations, and everything and everybody in between. And as South Africa, we have almost been very quiet. And if we're already being heard, we've come too late to the race. But the bottom line is, it's unfortunate. We should not be where we are. Thank you.